So, the movie that I decided to watch for this film assignment was Remember the Titans, which was released in the year 2000. I wanted to analyze this film because I've always heard of how good of a movie it was, but I never actually got around to watching it for myself. And especially now, as I kind of come to the end of my studies in this intercultural communication course, I think analyzing this film that speaks a lot about race issues in America would be really beneficial. And I also think that now I'm more well equipped to take a more educational lens in my analysis of it and really identify some pieces that I might have missed had I just watched it prior to this course. Just to give a bit of background on the film, if you haven't had the chance to see it for yourself, the story is based on a true story and is centered around a high school football team in the 1970s in Alexandria, Virginia. One black high school and one white high school are federally mandated to come together into one in order to integrate into T.C. Williams High School. The key aspects portrayed in this movie were those of race and cultural differences, and primarily those between the black and the white communities. Towards the beginning of the film, you can see that racial tensions are at the highest that they are, and as the story progresses, the audience is granted this opportunity, which is super unique, to witness the attitudes of each culture and co-culture kind of shift as they begin to learn more about one another. This was an aspect of the movie that I really appreciated, because instead of just focusing on the racial and cultural issues and kind of leaving them separate and focusing more on the tensions between the two of them, it shows how education, much like how we've learned throughout the course of this Comm 272 class, how education on other cultures and demographics can make individuals less ethnocentric and therefore more accepting of cultures and demographics that differ minutely or greatly from themselves, whatever that may be. A key part of this film where cultural differences are displayed is during the portion of the movie where the football team is at camp. The differences in the music that they listen to portrays the differences in cultures on a very minute level. There was other obvious issues that were in this film that were at a more grandiose level, but I think what I really liked about this particular scene is it was really tangible. It was something that honestly probably all of us have experienced before, and it allowed us to really step into the characters during this part of it. Where the white students were shown listening to mostly country music, the African American students were shown listening to primarily soul music. And I enjoyed this part of the movie because it showed a very small scale, and like I said before, an everyday way that cultures can express themselves together, but in their own unique ways. Another portion of this film that showed racial differences that this movie highlights was the dynamic between the two football coaches, Coach Boone and Coach Yost. These coaches went head to head several times in terms and ways that they wanted the team to be ran. Much like co-coaches do in day-to-day life, I've definitely seen co-coaches butting heads in my days as a high school athlete. In the film, Coach Boone expresses to Yost that he does not see the color of the players, that this is not a factor in how he coaches, but he simply just wants to push them to be the best that they can be. What a great coach. That's exactly what he should be doing. That's what they all should be doing. Coach Boone's character took a lot of backlash from the community because no one wanted to accept him into their world due to the racial differences, and is told that if he loses even a single game that he would lose this position. This was not because he wasn't qualified, but just simply because of his race, which honestly made me really angry along with a lot of other aspects in this film. Coach Boone was determined to push the Titans to be the best and play their best and to prove their community and the whole world wrong. The delivery method was football, but the overall theme was how one community of different cultures can come together and learn from one another. Although I overall enjoyed this movie, I found myself getting incredibly angry and frustrated at times. It was really infuriating to see that people can be so disrespectful to others just because that they're different from them. You could have all the same values, you could enjoy the same things, like they all play football, they all have a love for football, but they were being treated poorly just because their cultures were different, just because their skin tones were different. This being based on a true story, it hurt me to know that these events even happened and continue to still happen. As much as I want to say things like this don't still occur, race issues are still prevalent in America today, although they aren't at the same scale, thank goodness, as they were previously. We still definitely face these issues today. It hurt me to know that these events happened and continue to happen, and it's only through the desire to be understanding and to educate oneself on other cultures that we as a society can grow to be more appreciative and accepting of everyone despite what their demographics are. As a student who played sports in high school and also as a white student, I can't sit here and say that I can imagine what it was truly like for these students in the film and in the real life situation that I was based off of. I am aware of the societal privilege that I undeservingly and unfortunately have, through watching this film, I could place myself into these students' shoes and feel for them, but it was hard to truly identify exactly what they must be going through, which honestly, it made me really upset to think about that just because of who I am and the way that society kind of categorizes people and places people, that I can't truly understand what that felt like, and that makes me upset. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate this overall film an 8. I give this score because it portrayed a very tangible and realistic picture of racial issues in the United States, and I think it was incredibly eye opening to see just how disrespectful people can be towards others who are just simply different than them. This course has taught me so much and helped me to really identify what was going on in this movie, and I think that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, that through going through this course, I was able to take a better lens of watching it. Definitely recommend this movie to anybody, whether you've had a background in intercultural comm or you just want to hear a little bit more about what I've been talking about. But overall, it was a great film. I don't give films 10s out of 10s. I always think that there's room to be better, but I think that it did a really good job of accomplishing what it set out to do.